I'm Diane. Welcome to my channel, Diane in Stitches, a channel all about sewing and all sewing related matters, fabrics, patterns, etc. So hope it's something you enjoy watching. So if you do like the videos, then obviously please give it a like and comment, and also please, it'd be lovely if you would subscribe. Everything helps the channel to grow. So this is slightly different from my normal weekly vlogs. This is all about the Atelier Jupe Alex Coat, which I'm making in a lovely fabric that I got 2 years ago. So, excuse me, it is high time that this fabric was made up, just taking up room in my stash. So the Alex Coat is a single-breasted coat with lapels. I'll pop a picture up. And I did make a muslin at the beginning of the year, which was when I last intended to make the coat. So it's just hung on for the rest of the year. So I really do need to get it made up, hopefully in time for Christmas. Not that we do anything at Christmas. We don't do Christmas really. So this isn't really a vlogmas as such, but it's going to be not a daily, but it's probably going to be, as long as, if I can get a few videos out, I might put them in a different sequence to my normal weekly videos, but it's basically, I'm playing it by ear. So if you want to watch the Alex Coat being made, do subscribe, because then you'll get notified when I release the next video. So the Alex Coat, so when I made the muslin, I've realised that it is a bit big around the top half. The hips are okay. So I need to somehow, this is what's made me hesitant to cut into my lovely fabric, which I'll talk about in a little while, is that the sizing, it was just too big around the shoulders, but I need to grade the pattern because I need the hips to be the same size as it was on the muslin, which is sort of spread out here. I'll put a picture up of those anyway. So the sizing is all in European sizes, and it does give an equivalent. It says UK size, but I'm pretty sure that that's not a UK size, because I measured into 36 size, which says it's a UK size 8, and there is no way I'm a UK size 8. I think I'm a 12-ish, 10 to 12, veering on the 12 really, which I think is a US size 8 actually. I think the US sizes are two sizes down from the UK sizes. So I'll pop up a graphic of the sizing, and then compared with the finished measurements, because this is what I was going on to try and get the sizing right. And I actually fall into an 8 on the top half. I think actually, let me just have a quick look. And then and then a 10 at the waist and the hips. Sorry, I'm looking at my measurements here, and I've had to convert everything. What I've done is I've not been converted. I've just basically got a tape measure and looked at what my sizes are, and it falls into the 88 centimeters. And my bust is 35, so it's a little bit out. But the finished sizes, looking at the finished size, so I just did a straight size 8, 36/8. But as I say, I think I need the smaller top, 34. So I'm going on the finished measurements that I think that the size 6, it will actually, looking at the measurement, the finished measurement of the size 6, 34/6/6, will give me 5 inches of ease on the bust. Currently, the size that I've done is giving me 7 inches of ease. I did have a look at a sort of a recommendation for ease on a coat, and it does say 4 to 7 and even beyond, depending on how you like the coat to fit. Now, I did think that this was too loose around the shoulders and the bust, etc. So if I did the 6, it would give me 5 inches of ease, and then round the waist, based on the finished measurement, would give me 9.5 inches of ease. The problem is, if I did the 6, the hip would only give me 3 inches of ease. Currently, it's only giving me 4 inches of ease on the size that I actually made. So whether that would make that much difference. So I was in 2 minds whether to just cut the 6, which is the smallest size I had printed. So I have decided that I will grade, but I've got another there's another line that I'm going to leave as it is on the smallest size, which I'll explain in a little bit of video in a little while about my thoughts on the grading. So I think there is a lot of ease. I mean, on the big 4 patterns, I have measured into a 16 UK size, and they keep saying that the big 4 patterns are US sizes, but I think they are UK sizes. Well, some of the ones I've got have been on pattern in with a magazine, but I think they are UK sizes, and I've measured a 16, although I've actually made a 14. It was a skirt I did, and it's fine. So who knows with pattern measurements? I mean, it's I think you take part luck really into how it all turns out. But anyway, so obviously there's nothing here that gives me much clue other than going on those finished measurements. And luckily I have made the muslin, and what I don't want to do is make another muslin. I just want to get the fabric cut and done and used up and sorted. So so that's my thoughts on the sizing. I'll pop the little bit of a film in now about the grading process that I'm thinking of using, and hoping that it's going to work out okay. So the dilemma with the Alex Coat pattern, where I have to grade from the small top half, or top and middle half, and I'm going to leave the hip size as it was in the muslin, which is here, as you can see. I've tried to lay the pattern pieces on where they appear on the actual pattern, because the problem with this front piece here is there's a bit of the front that only comes to there, and then the other bit of the front, it goes from there and then to the hem, and then in between that you've got the pocket lining, which is the lining fabric. If you look, and this, I've worked out where they all come to. They all line up here. So if this is the pocket, this bias bit here will be a bit that attaches onto the top of this bit, the lower front bottom side piece, because that lining comes right up to the top of the band, and then as it goes in, it stops just at the bottom of this white bit here. So it's probably approximately where I can't get it exactly, because obviously the seams have been taken. At the end here, we should have a 4.5 centimetre hem, and then all the rest of the seams are 1.5 centimetres. So what I've done so far, which you probably can't see, I don't know if I'll have to draw it in, going from the bit here, this is the smallest size going, so I've only had 3 sizes printed. So this is the 34, this is the 36, which is the size I did originally, and this is the 38. So I've got to grade from this side, the hips that I want to keep, and I'm coming to the smaller size to the waist, and then continuing with this smaller size going up to the armhole. So I've got to do an equivalent alteration on this bit. See if I can just bring you a bit closer. So the pencil line I've drawn in is there. So I've got to line that up with that and then come to an equivalent mark, because obviously this one's not going all the way up and this one's even lower. So I've got to do an equivalent mark between the small and the medium where this bit lines up. So I've sort of guesstimated it as going there, and then this bit I need to line up with the equivalent bit there, which is about there. So it's just quite closer to the medium than the small size. So that's got to start. So they've all got to start at the hip. This is what I'm gauging is the hip, and then that's going right up to the waist, but this has got to stop here, and this has got to stop in a line with that there, if that makes sense. So that's my quite unscientific way of grading the pattern. Now the other thing is, I'll just bring you out again a bit, is that on this side we also have the 3 sizes. So this, strangely, they're the same order as this side. So it's small, medium, large, or 34, 36, 38. So theoretically, I need to grade from this line as well, up to, from the hip area, up to as it's going up towards the waist, back up to this short dotted line. But what I think I'm going to do to give myself that little bit more room, I don't know if, I hope this is going to work, to give myself that little bit more room is I'm just going to cut this on the smallest line. I'm not going to grade, because it's giving me probably 1/4 inch more. So if I do that on those seams, I'll have a little bit more room, because it seems to be silly to go in more when I want to make it bigger at the hip anyway. So I'm just going to cut down this line here on the short dotted line on all the rest of the pieces, because that also goes onto this top front as well. So I shall come down this smallest line, and I did actually put a little line in there. I can just see it. I can't know if you can see it. I did draw the line in there to grade from this one to that middle line, but I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to cut these all lining up with this outer line, and it is the smallest size, so I don't want to go in again. So I'll just go out at that end and then leave this side as it is. Hopefully that will work. So I hope that made sense a little bit. That's just going to be my method of doing it. It's probably might not be the correct way, but it's the only way I can work it out, with having all the different pattern pieces stacked on top of one another in one area. So it's not just a simple matter of one front and one back and grading out. I've got all these different pieces. So as you can see, the Alex coat comes with, literally, it just had the number written on it. I've had to put this and this on, which is the bottom side piece, and to cut 2 mirrored, because you have to go to one, you have to look on the instructions for what number 3 is, and then you have to look on another, I think it's about page 5 of the instructions, as to how many of each piece you need to cut. So I've just amalgamated all the information onto that pattern piece. The other thing about these, I think all Atelier Jupe patterns, is that on the when I send mine off to Flamingo Prints to be printed A0, and you can tell them which layers to print or not print, depending. I usually have one or two either side of my actual size printed, just to give me some leeway, because I have ordered printing before and then I thought, oh, I should have had a bigger size or a smaller size or whatever. So I always err on the side of caution for the sizing. But the problem with the Atelier Jupe, if you look at the layer panel, which I'll put up now, it says there's just a number, and then there's another number that says cutting line. And what that is that they've printed the seam allowance line as well. So if you look at the actual A0 if you've got all those layers selected, this is what it looks like. I'll put, if I can get the picture in one side, or I'll just cover me up with it a bit so that you can see. That's what it looks like with all the layers selected, both the cutting line and the seam line. So what I've done, as I said, just had 3 sizes printed, and I asked Flamingo to just print the cutting line, so to leave off the seam line. So how it would look if I'd had my 3 sizes printed with the seam line as well, is that I would have had these outer lines and then the inner lines, which would be the seam allowance, and that's where that's obviously where you'd be sewing. But once you've cut your pattern out, the seam line on the pattern piece sort of doesn't mean anything. As long as you know that you've got a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, that's all you need to know. So I did ask them not to print the seam allowance lines. So I've just got my simple 3 lines for the 3 sizes I wanted printing, and that's going to be fine. So it's just strange that you've got to look in one place then for what pattern piece it is. So they're a little bit confusing, but as long as I say I printed it all on written it all on the pattern piece anyway, and I have written it also on the pieces that I've traced off as well, my pieces that I'm going to be using. So that's the pattern. I don't think there's anything. If I think of anything else about the pattern, I'll add it at a later date. But it's just so confusing with having the seam allowance printed as well. When they say once you've got rid of your pattern piece, you've lost that anyway. You're not going to put that back on and say, oh, my seam allowance is here. You just measure whatever it is. It's 1.5 centimetres. So I've left it at that. I've just had the cutting line printed. So onto fabric. So you might have seen this before. I've shown it a few times in the times that I've been vlogging and saying I was going to do this coat eventually. I've got this lovely green Yorkshire, 100% Yorkshire tweed wool from Fabworks. We're based in Dewsbury in West Yorkshire. I think you can probably just about see the herringbone type pattern there. So this was, I've got 3 meters because I was going to make a different coat originally. This coat only actually calls for just short 2 meters 60 or 70, depending on the size that you're doing. When you bought, it was a special offer that they had. I think they've had a similar one this year as well, where you bought a certain amount of fabric, and you had free. You were given the same length quantity of lining, and the lining so you didn't get a choice on that. So the lining that I was sent is this jacquard weave, and it's a viscose and acetate fibre. I think that's the right side. Yeah, probably. So that's the lining, and you also got a reel of, so that goes nicely with that. You also got a reel of matching thread, and I ordered an extra thread as well on top of that, so that I knew I'd have enough, because I knew I'd run out. With this coat, obviously it needs interfacing. It does say on the pattern to have an equivalent amount of fusible interfacing. Now I did move a little while ago to a woven interfacing. I have got some of the other stuff, the papery stuff left, but I want to use the better quality stuff in this coat. Now you can line all the pieces. It says get 3 meters, or same amount as your fabric. And when I did the muslin, I didn't want to line the whole coat, and so it tells you if you don't want to line the whole coat, the pieces that you need to line, such as the upper collar, the facing, I think it's something round the hem and round the sleeve hem. So I just did those areas with when I made the muslin, but I am going to interface the whole coat this time. So I did order some. I'd only got a little bit of the woven left that I ordered a little while ago. So I've ordered some more interfacing. The pattern, going back to the fabric, I'm not sure how to prepare this fabric. I've heard that you can put it in a tumble dryer with a damp tea cloth, and it should help it to shrink up, or you can steam iron it. I'm going to just see how it goes with the steam iron. Not quite sure what to do with the lining. I can't find any washing instructions on Fabworks website. I might just leave that. I don't think it'll be a problem. It's not going to be washed anyway as a coat, so the only thing would be sending it to dry cleaners. But there is a pleat in the back to give you some more space. So that was that's the fabric. The coat itself only called for 1 button, but I'm going to put 2 on, and I only put 1 on the muslin coat. The only thing I was worried about was the buttonholes, and I have recently had some trouble with this cardigan. This is my Saltaire cardigan that I've recently finished, and I had trouble with this very last buttonhole with the machine playing up and not wanting to do it, even though it's not even. There's hardly even any change in thickness there, so why it played up I don't know. But anyway, what I heard about was that a buttonhole foot with a plate on it, a stabilising plate. I know Janome do one, and then I read that Brother do one as well. So I did actually order one, and it came the other day. So it's this thing, because I thought I just don't want more trouble with buttonholes. So you put your fabric between there, and it's this bit that runs along the machine, theoretically not causing any bump that will cause the buttonhole to not behave properly. Now the other thing I noticed when this arrived was, because I was going to do bound buttonholes, because this is the ordinary buttonhole foot, and the highest it goes, these are my buttons, and they don't fit into that slot for your buttonhole to be made the right size. So I was thinking I'll have to do bound buttonholes. But as it happens, this new one fits the buttonhole. It fits the button, so I can actually do an automatic buttonhole on the coat. So I will be doing some testing on that to see if that hopefully works. So it's quite a sturdy thing. So it just comes in 2 pots, and then you just slot that onto there and put your fabric in the middle. So we shall see if that works. So I think that's all I need to as the introduction onto this coat. So what I need to do now is prepare the fabric, trace the pattern off with the grading required, and then work out the instructions and put it into some sort of a coherent order. Oh, the other thing I'd thought about doing, I did order, when I ordered the interfacing, I decided I might put some shoulder pads in, so I ordered those as well, and I'll just give them a try. Not normally a fan of shoulder pads, but we'll see if the shoulders have come in a little bit with me doing a smaller size. It might just need a shoulder pad. I did read a blog where someone had said, oh, that she was really glad that she put the shoulder pads in, but we'll see. So I might do that. So I'll move on to the next stage, and hopefully, I don't know whether it'll be in this video or the next video, but we'll see how this all plays out.